Yes, welcome in. Easiest music in horse racing. This is the Horse Racing Happy Hour. Louie Rabaut hanging out with you. I'm on the back porch here in Louisville, Kentucky. Joining us from Southern California is Joaquin Jaime. They're at the studios of FanDuel ahead of opening weekend at Santa Anita. Back in LA with racing. Joaquin, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Louie. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate you jumping on. You've
course.
already been on air today. I'm doing a quick math. 11 o'clock you get off air. What the heck were you talking about this morning?
We were talking about Belterra. We were talking about Thistledown. I think we had some international racing from Newcastle. And, of course, we're doing a lot of previews this weekend because of the big cards at Churchill Downs. And, as you mentioned, racing returning to Santa Anita this weekend as well.
To the great race place out there. Joaquin, if you had to rate your favorite places in horse racing, where does, in particular, Clocker's Corner fall for you? Because as far as I'm concerned, one of my very favorite places, not just in California for racing, but anywhere, frankly.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's an easy top five without breaking a sweat. I mean, even probably top three. There's just something about it. And Clocker's Corner to me is great any time of the year, but in particular, the time of year that we're coming up to right now. We've changed seasons. There's a little chill in the morning air now. It's a little cold outside. You get a cup of coffee, you get some breakfast, and you're just watching horses train underneath the San Gabriel Mountains. I mean, to me, that's just one of the most picturesque venues that you could ever do that at. It's a perfect way to start your morning.
And a little bit of the whose 2-year-old is that, conversations going on as well this time of year, trying to figure out what's going on that way as well. But Joaquin Jaime, as I mentioned, with us from FanDuel, he'll be out there for all the races. You have 38 people covering Santa Anita this weekend. It's a great job, I think.
I think we have as many broadcasters as we do horses running the weekend, right? One person just take a horse.
Well, I wanted to ask you, and I try to, whenever we bounce around the country and have different guests on, just sort of their impressions of the year to this point, this, as we get into this weekend and we start, really turning our eyes to that Breeders' Cup and who is in those kinds of conversations. But, we just had the Pennsylvania Derby. We kind of put a wrap on those 3-year-old specific races. We're going to see a lot more of those 3-and-ups as we move forward, including that grade 1 Goodwood out there on Saturday at Santa Anita as well. Just your impressions of the 3-year-old class and what you've enjoyed about this year to this point.
Oh, they've been outstanding this year. When you start looking at the 3-year-olds, of course, right at the top of the list is going to be Sovereignty. Right behind him is Journalism. And then I think right behind him it was Baeza. To go back to the Pennsylvania Derby, I think it was a race that Baeza had to win if he still wanted to not fall behind the conversation of Sovereignty and Journalism, because I still think they're up here and Baeza's right here. But he got his second lifetime victory. It's crazy. He was only a 2-time winner. Got his first grade 1. But to me, you couldn't run a good second, even a good third. If you wanted to stay in that conversation, you had to win that race, and Baeza did. But, the 3-year-old crop, I mean, they've just been outstanding this year. You get into this time of the year, the conversation is, all right, well, how do these 3-year-olds stack up against the heavyweight division, the older horses? Right. And man, they can play with them. They can play just fine with them.
We saw the top 3 in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year, of course, be 3-year-olds. I'm not sure we'll get that again this year, Joaquin, but certainly we've got 3 that you just mentioned that absolutely are candidates for that.
And the cool thing is the top 3 horses that you're mentioning, winner Sierra Leone, second place finisher Fierceness, and the horses Out of Sight, Out of Mind, Forever Young, they're all coming back in the Breeders' Cup Classic this year.
Yeah, it's really incredible. We'll get a couple more runners this weekend that could spice up that field once we do get back to Del Mar there around Halloween time, of course. Are you like me? Are your kids mad at you that you keep missing Halloween? Is that the thing that's happening to you too, Joaquin?
So my daughter's 15 months old, so this will be her second Halloween. Last year, what I did is I did the breakfast shows at Del Mar. Then I drove about 2 hours north to LA to not miss that very first Halloween, even though that she's never going to remember it. I don't know. It was important to me. You needed the photos to be there and stuff. So I don't know. My wife ordered some random costumes off Amazon or whatever, and I zipped it up, whatever. Hey, it was a good time, but it was something I just didn't want to miss though.
There you go. I get to miss Halloween this year, unfortunately, again, by heading out to Del Mar there for the Breeders' Cup, but it is just part of our calendar here. I also wanted to ask you, just coming up, do you have a favorite moment to this point this year? We had Steve Kornacki on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he said what I expected him to say, but I'm not mad at him either, is just how journalism won the Preakness. And I'm not mad at that take. I think that's a really legitimate thing. I was I went back to Fione setting the track record at Saratoga, that race with Nitrogen, because I think so much of Nitrogen. That 3-year-old filly crop is a little bit all over the place, but has a lot of quality, a lot of depth of quality in it on the filly side for sure. Is it
Yeah.
journalism for you, or did you have another moment?
It's interesting. As soon as you said that, the first race that popped into my mind, and there's a lot of them because there's never a slow weekend in our sport anymore. It's just not. It's just like race after race after race, big race after big race. The first one that popped in my mind was journalism. I had the opportunity to be covering the Preakness for FanDuel TV. I was there in the winner's circle watching it, and live, you just hear the uproar of the crowd, the whole bumping incident at the top of the stretch. Oh my gosh, what is going on? But even before that, remember how Risley was sort of shoving on him down the backstretch, and like, oh my gosh, like what is happening? Is this not his day right now? Then all the bumping incidents at the top of the stretch, the crowd's going wild, and then all of a sudden, like Gosger puts like 5 lengths on him, and he runs down and gets him. Somehow he was able to win that race. For me, probably personally, that's probably the highlight of the year to seeing. I'll narrow it down. A race live that I saw,
Yeah, right.
that I was there for. It's not even close for me. Then talking to Umberto right before he had to go do the media in the press conference after that, and catching up with him. We talked to Mike McCarthy after that as well. Yeah, there's a lot to choose from, but the Preakness would be up there that stands out for me so far this year.
I had a tough luck moment. That was one of my favorites of the year. It was after the Haskell. You mentioned Gosger. That's why I thought of it.
Yeah.
Brendan Walsh is standing right next to the winner's circle, and the defeated shrug of that man in that moment. I'll probably not forget it for a long
what
time.
do I need to do?
What else can we do? That's exactly right. That's precisely
Yeah.
what it was. What else does this horse need to do to get a grade 1? It was really the reaction, and I had so much sympathy in that moment because I had bet Gosger in the Preakness. I'm very full disclosure there. That finish cost me a lot of money, but but just coming back in the Haskell, Brendan was supremely confident with him because he had so many other options for summer derbies with Gosger, and he was right to take him to the Haskell. I mean, he had every right to be in that race, and certainly sort of stunning that he didn't pull it out. Joaquin Jaime with us from FanDuel. He's out there at their offices, got off the air, was kind enough to jump on with us here on the Horse Racing Happy Hour. This Goodwood Saturday at Santa Anita, obviously they tried the California Crown thing. It didn't stick, or at least they decided it wasn't worth trying once again. Just the time of year, Joaquin, and where the other races are. Obviously we've got the Lucas Classic down the street here at Churchill Downs. They're running, the Woodward up at Aqueduct right now. It'll be at Belmont next year. Is the Goodwood still in a good spot, though, because of how far it is ahead of the Breeders' Cup? Do you think, for West Coast horses, it makes sense?
Yeah, for West Coast horses, it makes sense. I mean, it's tricky because you have at the end of August, you have the Pacific Classic, and then you have the Goodwood just a few weeks later. I don't think where the Goodwood is now, I don't think you can push it back anymore. It's just the day and age of racing that we're in, right? Nobody wants 3 weeks or 4 weeks going into the Breeders' Cup race. So I think it has to stay with the placement where it's at in that opening weekend of the fall meeting at Santa Anita. And, it also has to be far away enough from the Pacific Classic. If you maybe want to attract 1 or 2 stragglers there, it's a tough thing to do, but it's just the day and age we're in now. Connections want the spacing between their races. So yeah, I would say where it's at now, I think it's probably the most logical spot where it needs to be.
Yeah, I largely agree with you. Paco Lopez obviously is facing a suspension. Any updates your way on, because we see his name a lot on these past performances? Any named as a jock for example, the favorite in that Goodwood. Any updates on any of that?
Nothing that I have seen pop up this morning, although I haven't been on social media for the last couple hours, just doing the show. So maybe there is some news floating around there, but nothing at least that has resurfaced that I've been able to see so far.
All right. Well, Joaquin Jaime with us again out there at FanDuel. Let's do some handicapping. We'll get into it. Race 4 on the card is the first graded stakes on Saturday. It is the City of Hope Mile. This is a Breeders' Cup win and in last year. Johannes won the race and used it to finish second in the Breeders' Cup Mile. $200,000 obviously on the line because it is a grade 2. Johannes back in this spot. Boy, they shipped him out for a tough one in that 4-star Dave in the last start there, Joaquin. I'm not going to hold that against him here. I think he's very clearly the class. Frankly, he got my Eclipse vote last year as top turf horse in North. Okay, I'm glad to hear that, frankly, because I thought he had easily the best turf year of any horse, especially based in North America. And that second place finish was a great cap on the Breeders' Cup. Do you think he has all the work's looking good enough with Johannes? What do you make of him on Saturday?
No, I think he's going to be tough to beat. I'm with you. I'm just not going to hold anything that happened in the Grade One 4-star, Dave. It was an interesting spot to ship out there. They could have easily stayed at Del Mar and run in a race like the Eddie Reed, but
Right.
the appeal maybe was a Grade One to run in the FanDuel 4-star, Dave. I'm not sure, but he's already a Grade One winner. Anyways, it's a replay that the owners and Tim Yakteen are just not going to want to watch. It was just shuffled into the first turn. It was bad. And then you go about another 16th of a mile and you're just thinking, oh my God, it's getting worse.
Yeah.
It's getting worse. Like, what is happening? And you just shuffle it out towards the back of the pack, try to get involved at the top of the stretch. And, clearly it's just not a true representation of who Johannes is. He's a horse that is one of the most talented milers that we have here in the States. He's never tasted defeat at Santa Anita. He is 7th for 7. It's interesting when you look at some of the two best turf horses in California, they've never lost at particular racetracks. You have Johannes, who's undefeated at Santa Anita in 7 for 7. He's done very well at Del Mar too. But what
Yeah.
about Michael McCarthy's horse, Formidable Man? That horse has never lost at Del Mar on that turf course, maybe 6 for 6 or 7 for 7 as well, off the top of my head. But Johannes, he's going to be tough to beat in the City of Hope this year.
We had a conversation with some of the folks from the Thoroughbred Owners Association out there in California on Blood Horse a couple weeks ago, and I just I implored them, play up the turf angle of your cards. My gosh, you guys have such great turf racing in California. Let's find a way to put even more of an emphasis on it. If we were trying to figure out perhaps an exacta in this kind of race, who else are you looking at here? I think right next to him, Final Boss is really interesting here for John Sadler. Was in that Del Mar handicap last out, mile and 3/8, just too far. I think at a shorter distance, that horse makes a lot of sense. Who would you land on, you think, second in here?
Kala Spirit. I mean, he's a horse that might just fall a cut below in some of these races. His style. There's no guessing game. He's going to be out there on the front end. He's lost his last 3 races, but I thought he's been competitive and run very well, anywhere between 8 furlongs and 9 furlongs. He'll be out there on the front end with Mike Smith once again. I think he might be able to hang around there pretty deep in the stretch.
Race 5. We'll do a quick pick here, but I wanted to at least include it as it is a maiden special weight. It's in between 2 graded stakes here on the card, Joaquin. 2-year-olds in this one, as we start to look for those 2-year-olds at this time of year out there. Baffert's got a couple of second timers in here. Is it Providence and a bunch of dudes?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you go back and watch the film on Providence, first of all, you look at his pedigree. He's by Into Mischief, out of Monomoy Girl, Kentucky Oaks winner, 2-time Breeders' Cup Distaff winner. You breed the best of the best and you hope for the best, right? I mean, this is her first full to make it to the races. He did not break great in his debut. He broke a step slowly. He was taking dirt going into the first turn. He really wasn't having it. He was climbing a bit. He was taken wide out of that kickback. He did make a pretty big move on the far turn, and then he just flattened out and fizzled out to finish third. I think he ran in spots. He's clearly got some greenness there. The talent is still there, but good news for him, he's got the Hall of Famer Bob Baffert in his corner. So I think he'll get it figured out and start number 2 for a short price in that 5th race.
Bob Baffert and Juan Hernandez now up to 39% in their most recent.
That's it.
Works together at Santa Anita, which is lower than their overall number at 40%. It's just if they get to Santa Anita, it all goes in the toilet. That's what happens. Race 6 is up next out there on Saturday. Talking with Joaquin Jaime. He is with FanDuel. We appreciate him jumping on the program here. The John Henry Turf Championship is a grade 2. It's race 6, mile and a quarter. They will start on the downhill turf there, run over the dirt, and then finish out the race in this one. Again, $200,000 on the line. Gold Phoenix comes in 3-2. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, he should be favored, I think, based off his Del Mar handicap victory. You got to give some credit to this 7-year-old too. 4 straight years he's won the Del Mar handicap. But you name any race in the country, pretty damn hard to win any race 4 straight years to be at the top of the game. And even if he makes it into the Breeders' Cup, that'd be 4 straight Breeders' Cup appearances for Gold Phoenix as well. And a couple of those, the last couple of years, I think he finished 4th at $1,000,000,000 each time. I mean, for him, those are wins for the connections. I mean, he's shown up with some big performances in the Breeders' Cup to fill out the superfectas in the last couple of years. The connections said, 2 starts back on August 9th. They shortened him up to 8 furlongs, even though he's a grade 1 winner at 8 furlongs. We know he's a distance specialist. That was clearly a prep for the Del Mar handicap. They made note of that, and he was able to get the victory over Stay Hot that day. I thought the trouble probably cost Stay Hot a little bit in there. And, I would look to Stay Hot who's going to be just to his inside. That was his first time going a marathon distance on the turf course.
Yep.
Clearly showed he can handle it and compete with one of the best turf marathoners that we have out here in California.
Yeah, I thought Stay Hot was really good. I think Mike Smith is actually a linchpin of several of the graded stakes on the card on Saturday. If he has a good day, there's a chance of some pretty, maybe not huge upsets, but at least reasonable upsets with some of the mounts that he does have on Saturday. Outside of them, I was interested, in a horse like Mondigo is going to break from the 5. Kazushi Kimura gets the mount here. Did he just go over 1,000 career North American wins? Did he get to that number?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. No, okay. He just got it. 1,000 North American wins for Kazushi Kimura, multiple Sovereign Award winning jockey in Canada. Yep. Recently just moved his tack. I say recently, what is it now? A couple of years. Time's already flying. But yeah, 1,000 North American wins, and maybe he even gets his first Breeders' Cup win because he's the regular rider at Copion. And, she's clearly been one of the best female sprinters in the country this year.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch him develop in Southern California as well, because it's so clear that the racing is very different than what he was doing outside of Toronto there at Woodbine. But Mondigo does come in out of that Del Mar handicap. We see 5th place, but it was only by a length and a quarter. Is the mile and a quarter an okay distance? Is this one that can get the engine going in time to get there?
Yeah, I think so. And now that Kazushi's ridden him the last couple starts, maybe he's learned something about him. He's just steady, one-paced all the way down to the finish line. So, I do think the 10 furlongs, even though he's 0 for 5 at it, I think the 10 furlongs would be all right for him.
Yeah. You mentioned Gold Phoenix went over $2 million in earnings career-wise. Last out, a pretty incredible 7-year-old gelded son there of Bellardo. How about that, of all things? So we move on to race 8. We're going to skip ahead just a little bit to the late pick 3. It is the second leg of the turf pick 3, but also the start of the $3 late pick 3. Are you like me, Joaquin, and just give me the bigger denominations and the lower takeouts? Because I love this bet.
Yeah, I like the bigger denominations because you know what you have to do? You got to handicap. You got to make you got to make decisions. You're sitting there, you're mapping out, 50-cent pick 4s, this and that. Throw the horse on. Now you got a $3 denomination. You're like, ooh, okay, I can't play that big of a ticket right now. That's not going to work. Forces you to handicap. I like it.
We're going down the hill a couple of times to close the card. We'll do it the first time in race 8. About 6.5 furlongs is what they tell us is the distance. $200,000 on the line in the Eddie D, a grade 2. This is for 3 and up. We see a bunch of names in here of turf horses that we know from out west. And Joaquin, when I look at races down the hill, especially, I look for horses that have had a lot of success in that. And that's why I have First Piece on the outside. We saw that horse in the Greenfish last out at Del Mar and way, way, way up the track for Mike Smith and Mark Glatt. But Mark Glatt, second off the layoff, hits it over a third with his runners at 34% in recent times. I'm going to lean on those kind of stats here and lean on the outside horse here, Joaquin. Who do you think you're going to land on?
Yeah, he won the Eddie D, and that was just his race to 2 starts ago. So he's only had 1 race in 2025. So clearly there was some sort of issue there. He's much better than what he showed in his most recent start in the Green Flash. I'd be looking to a horse like Yellow Card, Kazushi Kimura. Kimura is going to be back aboard him as well. He's another one that had a layoff. He's only had a couple runs this season. I've seen some improvement from first start to second start this year. He hasn't gone down the hill, but he ran decent enough at Kentucky Downs, going 6.5, which plays a little bit longer. So, all right, weird configuration at Kentucky Downs, weird configuration down the hill at Santa Anita. You can maybe piece something together there. So I could see an improving horse like Yellow Card jump up in here. He's the 5 horse, 7-2 morning line.
Yeah, I think he's my second choice here. I think he's absolutely in there. When you have a horse that hasn't been at Kentucky Downs and hasn't been down the hill, like a Reef Runner breaking from the inside, how do you handicap a horse like that for this course, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, this is especially Reef Runner, where look, this horse has had a steady diet of 5 furlong turf sprints. Right. I mean, this is going to be a different ball game for Reef Runner here. He was the one that was disqualified and placed second for interference in the Green Flash. It's really a guessing game, right? I mean, if you ask David Fox how the horse is going to handle the 6.5, I don't know if you can prepare him a certain way to go down the hill. I don't know if you get Stewart's permission to maybe gallop down the hill and cross the dirt. I don't know if that's a thing, if they'd be able to do that. It's a guessing game. It's certainly an unknown and part of the handicapping puzzle here.
Yeah. All right. We'll move on. Late double, another higher denomination as the birds have moved in, Joaquin. I don't quite know what to do.
It takes
They're
some
hanging
cover.
out now. It's a bird. I have some kind of umbrella here. We'll be all right. But yes, race side starts a late double, the $5 late double there at Santa Anita. It is the grade one. It is a Breeders' Cup win and in for the Classic, and it is the Goodwood. We're running for $300,000, and we are going a mile and an eighth in this one. First Mission listed as the 8-5 favorite, but of course the news about Paco Lopez hangs out there. Humberto Rispoli doesn't have a mount in this race to this point. Joaquin, is there? I mean, I'm largely making assumptions here, but I gotta think he's at least a candidate to ride First Mission here.
Oh, his name, no doubt, would be at least in the conversation to go ahead and pick up the mount on this Godolphin homebred in here. You mentioned First Mission 8-5 on the morning line. His big win this year. I was there for him in the Oakland Park Handicap. I spoke to Michael Banahan, representing for Godolphin, immediately after the race, and they said, "Look, we're going to look for a grade one for this horse because they've always had high hopes." Remember, it was a couple years ago he won the Lexington. Then he was entered in the Preakness Stakes, got scratched out of the Preakness Stakes, and then went to the sidelines for quite some time. So he was always a classic horse in their minds. They always thought he had the talent. And he showed that talent in the Oakland Park Handicap. My thing is, are we going to get that version of Fierce Mission where he can win the Oakland Park Handicap and put up a 109 buyer? Or are we going to get the version that lost to Surface to Air in the Island? I'm just not sure what to do with him in this particular spot.
Yeah, he's a tough one too, because I was there in November of 24. So we're coming up on a year here. He almost won the Clark as a 3-year-old, man. And that's not something that we see very often here at Churchill Downs. So you're right. The talent is just staring us in the face. But the other part of this, Joaquin, for me is I haven't seen many horses leave Oaklawn and be great on other dirt surfaces this year. I don't know what that is. And maybe I have too much of a Kentucky bias that way, and it just hasn't translated Churchill. But I mean, I just haven't seen that happen for many of those Oaklawn runners. So I have at least a little bit of a holdback, but of course his losses are to who, Surface to Air and Mindframe. Like, why are we holding that against him? That kind of thing as well. Losing a Mindframe in the Foster. I mean, goodness gracious. Yeah. So no, the talent's really obvious. Who else stands out in this field though? Because, it's interesting. I don't think Baffert puts Privman in here by accident. I think this is an intentional placing for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's won back-to-back races. It took him a while to figure it out and break his maiden. But you go back and watch the film in his last two races. I mean, he's winning these races on raw talent, but there's something going on up here that he's looking around at the top of the stretch, because he's green, he's lugging in. He's got some kinks to work out. He did it in his maiden win when he got hit with the right-handed stick. He swapped to his left lead, lugged in. He got it figured out in the stretch and was able to overcome it and get the maiden win. You can get away with mistakes against easier competition, right? That's just sports. You're stepping up now into some greatest stakes company. Are you going to be able to get away with those mistakes? If he does it again, I'm not sure. He's done it in back-to-back races. Bob Baffert's going to figure him out. We know that. But the talent is there, but he's got some kinks to work out. He's been goofy in his last two.
Yeah, he runs like his dad, likes to get the lead. Another horse that's going to try to get the lead or at least be real close is a horse named Full Serrano on the outside. Almost won the Pacific Classic last year at 1.25 miles. I think the 1.1 miles sets up pretty well for him as well, Joaquin.
Yeah, the 9 furlong should be right there for Full Serrano. Speed, outside draw, only making the second start of 2025. 2 races ago, he won the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. And I remember talking to John Sadler before that, and he was saying that the only reason he went to the Dirt Mile is because he missed some time after the Pacific Classic, which he nearly won. As you mentioned a second ago, he was only second to feet at a half length. Because he missed some time, they felt that rerouting him to the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile was more realistic for him at that point. So they bring him back in an allowance race that they had their eye on for quite some time. And I think they accomplished what they wanted to, right? Get him back to the races, get the ball rolling, and then let's get him back into the winner's circle and start looking for graded stakes company again. And that's what he's doing. Second start off the layoff. This race is going to be telling, because depending on the type of performance, even if it's a winning performance, depending how the numbers come back, visually how he looks, is this an audition for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile that he'll try to repeat in? Or will he take on the big boys in the Breeders' Cup Classic?
That's a fascinating question. When he did win, at the end of the day, you could tell who was from California. I will tell you that at the Breeders' Cup, because there was a lot of with that group once they got to the end of that day. I'm not mad, by the way. It was awesome. I really enjoyed the moment for sure. But who would you land on, do you think, on top here? I think Full Serrano's my pick here.
I'm with you then. Full Serrano for me. I mean, he showed since he's come here to the States. He's got a lot of talent. Nearly won the Pacific Classic at a mile and a quarter. Speed on the outside, good form. Juan Hernandez, John Sadler. I'm with you. I'm looking for Full Serrano on the outside.
The newly named John C. Harris, the old Unzip Me, is a grade 3. It will close the card on Saturday at Santa Anita as race 10, $100,000 on the line here. This is a race for 3-year-old fillies in this one. We do have one horse that has won twice down the hill in this race, Joaquin, and that horse is 30-1. And so if you want to get wild here, folks, go ahead and get wild with the Patrick Gallagher trade. I think it's Shiflide is the name of that horse.
Shulfide? Yeah, sounds right.
Something like that. I landed on a Baffert down the hill on the grass. How about that? And Kazalu, who has won on this course before, keeps Kazushi Kimura in the mount. Did not love the mile in the Nate Del Mar Oaks. I think getting back to sprinting here will be much better. Where do you think you'll land, Joaquin?
Yeah, 3 starts back. Kazalu, won the Sweet Life Stakes, did it up on the pace, has been in the exacta in 2 or 3. This race is impossible. Like, just going through it. I mean, if you're ending any pick 4s, pick 5s, whatever it may be, I don't think you could go deep enough in this race. You might be 6 deep and still holding your breath in the nightcap in here. The Graham Motion horse interests me warming down on the inside. She comes out of some tougher races in the Belmont Oaks and the Lake Placid. Graham Motion, just over the years, when he ships into California, he means business. And he did that a couple times over the summer at Del Mar. She's never been down the hill. Clearly, that's a question mark, but Graham knows that this race is going to be down the hill. If he feels that this filly is capable of handling that, then I'm going to trust Graham Motion in here. So I'm going to be looking to warming down on the inside.
Umberto Rispoli picks up the mount there on warming. Previously, Manny Franco riding up there at Saratoga. I think sneaky, and I know it hasn't been in all of the big splashy spots, one of the best training years of Graham Motion's career, frankly, this year. He's been incredible. And he's placing horses in spots, whether it's Gulfstream out west, etc. It's been really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, hovering right around 20%, winning major races all across the country too, coming out here to Southern California. And the amazing thing is even in studio, I could be on a Wednesday or Thursday, he's winning some race at Delaware Park. And then over the weekend, he's winning a graded stakes in Southern California at Santa Anita. But to your point, he's been doing this all across the country, and not an easy place for him where he's at in the Mid-Atlantic,
I'll give you a for instance. You said you can't go deep enough in this race. The 5 horse in here for Carla Gaines is Lee's Baby Girl. Mirko DeMuro picks up the mount here. This one is 1-2 in a row, coming out of a maiden win. Goes against winners for the first time off a layoff, beats him at Del Mar, and gets to come back in this company. I don't know. I think that's a horse. If it won, Joaquin, we'd look back and go, okay, it took a long time for that horse to figure it out, but here she is, and she won, and now she's a graded stakes winner. I think it's that kind of race.
Yeah, I mean, one price that would catch my eye in here, the 9 Eiffel for Mike Pipey and Little Red Feather. I remember working that day on the 8th of June when she broke her maiden at Santa Anita. I mean, that was a huge run. I mean, the margin is ahead. It's a deceiving head victory with how much the best she was in her debut. Then she just misses against Allowance Company going a mile. I don't know what happened in the allowance race at Del Mar going a mile and a 16th. Maybe it was a distance thing. That's not her. If I go back and watch the film on the first 2 races for Eiffel, they're going to go and they're going to spurt away from her on the cutback in distance. As soon as they cross the dirt, I know she's got a strong closing kick. I could see a price like Eiffel really starting to roll down the lane.
Unironically, I have that horse second in my handicapping as well.
So it's going to be a good weekend or a bad weekend for us, man.
Exactly right. And that is an Antonio Fresu mount. Of course, he was the leading jock. Last time we were at Santa Anita was Antonio Fresu, his first riding title at Santa Anita in the spring. Well, he is Joaquin Jaime. Tell us what is going on in your coverage this weekend out at Santa Anita. I know you're going to have, I joked about how many people you're going to have there. It's going to be great.
Yeah, there's probably 6, 7, 8 of us that are going to be out there at Santa Anita, as we always do. Full team coverage from race number 1 to the nightcap. There'll be multiple reporters on the grounds as well, and just really looking forward to getting back to the Great Race Place, and a lot of Breeders' Cup implications that we're going to see over the weekend. Breeders' Cup winners. We have Full Serrano, Dirt Mile winner on Saturday. You have Straight No Chaser, the Breeders' Cup Sprint winner, coming up on Sunday as well. So some big name horses still in their final runs before their respective Breeders' Cup races.
I'm very excited for the return of Cavalieri as well. I want to be on record with
Right.
that as well, because if she's
I
good,
haven't seen her since the Beholder Mile,
I
right?
know, right. And
Yeah.
if she could spice up that distaff division, I'll take it
Right.
for sure. Well, he's Joaquin Jaime, fellow voter for Johannes of the Eclipse Award. So we appreciate him very much on the horse racing. Thanks, Joaquin. Have a good rest of the day. Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks, Louie. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
Likewise. Thank you. There you go. Joaquin Jaime joined us here on the Horse Racing Happy Hour. Appreciate him joining us from those FanDuel studios and all the great coverage they've got out there. As he mentioned, they'll be at Santa Anita. I think they're 7 deep according to the graphic. And so plenty of coverage out there at the Great Race Place. Make sure you get in with them that way. Want to thank our friends over at Sazerac. We tried out the Colonel E.H. Taylor cigars today as part of their series. These are not flavored cigars. They are blended to pair with a whiskey. So if you wanted to try them out, you are certainly welcome to go check them out there. But for Joaquin Jaime, my name is Louie Rabaut. This has been the Horse Racing Happy Hour. Thanks for hanging out with us on a September 25th edition. We'll be back next week. And man, the Churchill, getting closer to Keeneland and all the things that, of course, try to keep you up on what's happening out in Anita as well. Again, thanks to Joaquin. I'm Louie.